Hello dear viewer. I've realized that for the past few weeks or even months, I've been focusing solely on creating Factorio Space Age videos and haven't been making enough basic guides for new players or the core game itself. Therefore today I'd like to share a thinking technique that might help you in solving problems and setting up new production chains with ease. One approach to manage complexity in Factorio is to address it from a different perspective. And my favorite method to build, design and make sense of new production chains is to think in reverse, from top to bottom in the production hierarchy. Instead of wrapping my head around all of the complicated tasks I have to complete seemingly at once when tackling a new chain of production, I systematically solve issues step by step, from top to bottom. Having an alternative design approach and thinking model is beneficial if you hit a roadblock. For example, many new players find that producing chemical or blue science can be quite a hurdle, representing a notable increase in difficulty that may call for a different strategy. Unfortunately, I've heard of numerous players on Reddit who just gave up on setting up blue science, and instead they start over and over, never making it to bots and more advanced technologies. I think the biggest hurdle with blue science is that it introduces many problems that need to be tackled at once, which can be overwhelming for new players. Unlike red and green science packs that can be made exclusively from iron, copper and coal, chemical science requires a brand new production chain, oil processing, for 2 of its 3 ingredients. Crude oil is often located far from the spawn point. We have to deal with pipes and the fluid mechanics, and we have to then process it into petroleum gas, plastic and red circuits. Additionally, the blue science pack and engines recipes have a very slow crafting speed, resulting in a high amount of assemblers that need to be built. Nearly all recipes require 3 ingredients, and on top of it all, there's steel production, which adds another smelting block to your base. Last but not least, you have to produce sulfur, which is yet another product made from oil processing, which requires you to deal with liquids and chemical plants. So, how does the reverse thinking and designing strategy work? Let me walk you through the entire process using the production of blue science as an example. This is a typical early game base, no special design patterns used, no main bus. Our goal is to research a technology that requires blue science, which means our labs have to be able to process blue science packs. That's the starting point when thinking in reverse. To add a new science pack, we create an extra belt with long inserters to pick items from it. Now we have to figure out how to put blue science packs on this new belt. Using Factoriopedia is incredibly helpful as it explains how blue science packs are made, the assembling machine. Next, we need to find a nice open space to build a bunch of assemblers. Don't build near the already existing production chains. Always keep a lot of space in between so that upgrading and expanding is always possible and routing belts doesn't become a nightmare. Let's build this sub-factory over here. A quick look at the tooltip reveals we are making 0.06 blue science packs per second per machine. Compared to red and green science, that's roughly half, which means we need to set up twice the amount of assemblers to make up for the low crafting speed. I don't want to talk too much about ratios in this video, it's totally fine to not worry about it too much. You don't have to be perfect, just get it roughly right. It's time to take the first look at the blue science pack's ingredients. For now it doesn't matter how they are produced. We think in reverse, so all we care about right now is how many different input items there are to construct the incoming belts. In this case 3, which means we need 2 belts. On the near belt we put 2 types of items, let's just say engines and sulfur, and on the far belt red circuits. Here's an uncommon tip. Research the circuit network for 100 red and green science. I know, it's hard to understand circuit logic, but the only reason I'm suggesting this is because it gives you access to these very helpful little display panels. You can place them in front of the belts to remind yourself what item has to go where later on. Now we just randomly pick one of the ingredients to move on. Let's choose engines. We have to find open space again to construct the engine sub-factory. The production speed for this recipe is similar to the consumption rate of the science packs, which means we build the same amount of assemblers and connect the output belt to our blue science production. Engines also require 3 ingredients, so we build the same pattern for the 2 incoming belts again. Become familiar with the copy-paste feature of Factorio by pressing Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V. By using display panels again, we mark which item has to go on which belt. We are already making gears in our factory, but it's also possible to create a second sub-factory. In this case, I want to use the already existing gears production. The next ingredient, pipes, can be crafted really fast, so it seems like 1 assembler is already sufficient for our 10 engine assemblers. Nevertheless, let's build 2, maybe we need pipes for something else later on. It's never a bad idea to slightly overproduce. To make pipes, we only need iron plates, which are already available in our base. Now it's time for steel, the third ingredient. Again, always leave a lot of space around new subfactories and if possible copy-paste good designs you've already made before. In this case, smelting steel works just the same as smelting iron ore or copper ore, so we just reuse our smelting block design. We connect the outgoing belt to our engine production and supply this smelting block with coal and iron plates. One more advice regarding ratios. You will probably not have enough iron to fully saturate the new engine production, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. You can still add more iron smelting later. We want to solve issues one at a time. If only half or just a quarter of our new production chain is working, that's way better than not producing anything at all, because we quit the game out of frustration. Ramping up production is just another task we can tackle in the future. Now that we are producing engines, we just move on to one of the missing blue science ingredients, for example sulfur. Since we are using the reverse thinking approach, we don't care about sulfur's ingredients. We just need to figure out where sulfur is made and Factoriopedia tells us the chemical plant. Let's find a new spot for a subfactory and build some. We require a very low amount of sulfur per second, so just one chemical plant will do the job, but we'll build two again. Sulfur's ingredients are both fluids, which means we have to use pipes instead of belts. By pressing H or V, you can flip production buildings like chemical plants, making it easier to connect the pipes. Now it's time to produce sulfur's ingredients. To get water, all we need is an offshore pump and pipes. Very easy. Petroleum gas is more complicated though. It's made with the basic oil processing recipe in refineries. So, let's build a new oil subfactory over here and connect the outgoing pipes to our sulfur production. 2 refineries should be sufficient for now. We can still add more later on. The only ingredient our refineries need to make gas is crude oil, which is a natural resource on Norvis. Sometimes we'll find it near our spawn, but it depends on the map generation. Pick up a lot of pipes, pump jacks and power poles and find the next crude oil patch to build a long pipeline. Connect the pump jacks with each other. Bringing gun turrets and ammo is also a good idea when playing with biters. And if we've made no mistakes so far, the production chain should be running and producing gas and sulfur. Finally, we have to make red circuits. Because we are thinking in reverse, we start by building the assemblers and outgoing belt. We need 0.9 red circuits per second, while one assembler produces 0.12 per second. So we need 8. Since we have to deal with 3 input ingredients again, we can copy-paste the incoming belts from the blue science subfactory. And we are using display panels again. We require 4 cables for each circuit, so it makes sense to assign the inner belt for copper cables. A green circuit subfactory already exists for the production of green science packs, so we can just take them from there. Next up, the production of copper cables. We need 0.5 times 8 equals 4 copper cables per second. One assembler produces 3 per second, so building 2 machines is sufficient. To make cables we only need copper. Done. Last but not least, we need a plastic subfactory. Each chemical plant produces 2 plastic per second. 1 plant is enough, but I built 4, which will certainly come in handy in the mid-game. To make plastic we need petroleum gas and we have to build a long belt to transport coal to our chemical plants. I love this moment when the entire production chain is finally completed and starts producing. The one disadvantage using the reverse thinking technique is that it's harder to spot simple mistakes like this. The output inserters are facing the wrong direction. Let's rotate them and watch our new chemical science packs moving towards our labs. We can now start researching more advanced technologies like electric furnaces and bots. If the reverse thinking method doesn't seem like your thing, that's okay. However, if you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed, it might be worth giving it a shot. I'll make more videos like this in the future. By subscribing to this channel, you'll be sure to not miss any of them. I'm also active on Twitch TV/Avadi. See you there. Thanks, bye.